What's up, guys? It's the Baller Sports Dialogue podcast. We got a lot of guests here today. First off, it's your co-hosts, Brandon Deutsch and Graham Mona. And we're thankful to have Tony Merriweather, Jordan Aiken, Sean Kretz, and Kai Castor all with us today. All very knowledgeable about basketball. And we're here to just discuss some basketball topics today. I know we did football last week. Divisional picks went well for all of us, and we'll just get into some basketball today. So I'm just going to go straight into it. Let's start off with the All-Star starters. That Wiggins is the big enigma that got into the All-Star game. Takes away, in my opinion, a rightful spot of like an Anthony Edwards or a DeAndre Ayton or a guy like to that caliber. Obviously, Mitchell, Gobert, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Luka Doncic are all going to be in, and Karl Anthony Towns. But I really think Edwards deserved it. That's my take first. So I wanted to ask with the Western Conference starters first, does Wiggins' spot take away a spot from somebody that you guys think really deserves it? Not starter. I'm just saying his spot as a starter, assuming no one gets hurt, is going to screw somebody who is a reserve. Regardless. So I want to know who that person is for you guys. I'm going to start with Grant, and we'll just, after Grant goes, I'll go into Tony and then Kai and then Jordan and then Sean.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a huge topic. It's kind of what the NBA wants, right? Though they want like something to stir up some controversy. I feel like we have that every time, but I mean, Wiggins, I think I saw the stat just now. I think he's averaging 18 points. It's like the lowest ever for an All-Star game starter, which is absolutely ridiculous. This kind of goes to show why the fan vote being 50% is kind of ridiculous. I mean, we could vote in anybody. We could have voted in Ben Simmons if we wanted to, but we didn't, fortunately. We could have voted in Kyrie Irving if we wanted to, but we didn't. Thank God. But this is the one outlier where you have guys like CP3 and Booker that, I mean, come on, these guys are having amazing seasons, and they got even Luka. I mean, I know we're going to probably categorize him forward, guard, whatever, but those guys are way more deserving than Andrew Wiggins. I understand the Warriors are doing great. They don't even have the 1 seed, though. The Suns have the 1 seed, and if anyone's going to have 2 starters in the starting lineup, it probably should be them. I mean, I know Steph Curry probably deserves that number one, that point guard spot, but if you look at the Suns and they don't have a starter in the starting lineup for the All-Star team, like, it's kind of ridiculous. So, yeah, I think one of those guys should have got it over him.
Yeah. I'm looking at the. Also, thank you for having me. Once again. I'm looking at the just right now. I kind of thought you guys were joking about the Wiggins thing. Wow. I mean, Grant, you kind of hit it. I remember, I think in our little group chat, I thought it was 25. Probably past years, but yeah, you clarified it was 50. So, I mean, for Wiggins to get it, and like you said, they're not even the top seed. They're not even, I mean, they're not, if they were number one in NBA and it's some like 2016 Atlanta Hawks stuff where like 4 All-Stars from the whole team, even though none of them average over like 25, sure, like whatever. But even still, I mean, you have Luka. And then you have nobody from the Suns starting. But look, reserves, no, you get more analytical people, and you get the players, and then you get the coaches. But I mean, Andrew Wiggins, 18 points a game. Just all-star caliber. I mean, I don't think he makes it this year. Who probably won't make it. That I feel as if should make it, so over Wiggins. I mean, over, if it's going to be over, and shout out to Andrew Wiggins. I know he came into the league with a lot, a lot of, hype, and a lot of expectancy, and he literally had to, then he was traded on draft night. So like, I know he had a whole thing about, I don't know. He has a lot going on. Kansas star, but I just don't think he's the All-Star.
Yeah, I mean, agree with all you guys. It's just, all you really got to say is Booker and Edwards, and that kind of seals the deal for me. I don't know. I don't see it at all. I mean, I think he's having a great year, and he's doing what he's supposed to be doing for the team. He's an all-star for his team, but that's all I'd give him. I don't think not only just 18 points a game, but he's averaging I think like 4 and 3 as well, like 4 rebounds, 3 assists, I believe, and like that's nothing. I mean, if he was averaging like 7 and 7, maybe, or like something like that, where he's doing a little bit more rather than like somewhat efficiently scoring 18 points a game for a decently stacked team, I guess, offensively. But besides that, I don't know. There's not really much else I'd say about it. It's pretty straightforward. I don't think
I
he
love these
deserves to be
takes. I
an
love these
all-star
takes.
in
Jordan,
general.
what do you got?
So, yeah, that's all I really got to say about it.
I mean, really, the biggest thing that I got from when I made my own all-star starters and backcourt, I mean bench and all that, the reserves, I realized like I really don't like that we have to stick with only 2 backcourt and 3 front courts. Like I think that's the biggest thing that upsets me, because like some like you guys, like what Grant said earlier, is like you have someone like Luka Doncic who is a guard, right? But he's a 6'7", 6'8" guard, and it makes me like think like, okay, yeah, that's why you can't start him. So you're going to start this guy named Wiggins, over him, who's no hate. I mean, he's a good player. I love playing with him on 2K too. But like, it's a part of me is like, on 2K you have like Luka Doncic, who has like point guard / small forward. Let the man be the small forward. You know what I mean? Let him do his thing over there. But that's the biggest thing. Like, I mean, to have someone like Wiggins start, like it reminds me of like that Hawks team for sure. But it's not like they're the best record in the conference or even in the league. I mean, not even the best in the conference, let alone the league. So it makes me feel like, okay, let's change the whole idea of positions for the All-Star. That's my biggest takeaway from this. Is like I want to be able to see Luka start or someone like Paul George start, but he's injured.
Yeah,
I know.
I mean,
but yeah,
what Jordan was
that's where I
talking
come
about
from.
was the
Yeah.
Hawks in 2015. They had the best record, and then Kyle Korver was a starter, something like that. Someone crazy. I think Paul Miller or somebody crazy was a starter. So that's what Jordan was talking about. Where yeah, they have a great record, but does he really deserve to be an All-Star? So, Sean, what do you got on this last point?
Well, as the Canadian on this podcast, I have to stick up for him a little bit. Can't discredit too much. Honestly, he's having like best shooting year of his career. He's shooting 40% from 3. He's shooting 48% field goal percentage. So he is having a great career. So who knows, if he was on a different team getting more shots, he could easily be averaging 22, 23 a game. Who knows? Do I think he's an all-star starter? No. I think he could be reserved just because of how well Golden State's doing and how he helped the Warriors win while Curry was out. Clay was not back yet. So I think for that, he should be an all-star. I don't think he is a starter, though. But I don't want to discredit too much because he is having a great season for sure.
That's very valid. As a Canadian, you got to stick up with your guys. Great points by all you guys. Let's go on to the Lakers. I know everyone's talking about this team, right? We got a lot of Laker fans in here. We have a Raptors and Clippers fans, the grinders down here. Westbrook hasn't been turning it over as much, but his shooting has gone kind of down too. I remember he had a few games where he was 26 and 12, but he was turning it over a lot. So he kind of flipped the script there. They got Anthony Davis back. It's just his thing. He needs to stay healthy, right? So hopefully he can get back on track. He can stay healthy. And with Davis back, do you guys think that they're back to normal? They're back to being a contender? Do you think this jumpstarts them? What do you guys got? Let's go Jordan first on this one. What do you guys got on the Lakers for the rest of the season? Because it's been very subpar up to this point. We all thought they'd be contenders, right? But here they are, 24 and 24, right above the Clippers, who have lost everybody, and above. I think the Timberwolves are neck and neck with them. So, Jordan, what do you got on the Lakers, man?
And, I will say, like, yes, I am a Clipper fan, but I will never discredit or count out LeBron James when it comes to the playoffs. So when I think about something like, okay, yeah, they can finish 6th. I think as long as they avoid the play-in, I'm not saying they're going to shoot up to 4th or 5th. Maybe it would be cool to see that happen for, the Lakers, as a LA resident. But a part of me knows that's like, okay, we saw what happened at the beginning of the year. They were healthy. It's not like, yeah, chemistry plays a role into it, but it's not like there's necessarily a time where you need to like flip a switch. Like I feel like a team usually, I mean, obviously chemistry matters, but I feel like if you're a good team, you're a good team. They have LeBron James, they have Anthony Davis, they have Westbrook, but I think this is where it's going to be. I think they're going to be like 6 around there, but you know,
Right,
you never
right.
know.
You,
They might
you
they
can
might
never
make
count
it,
LeBron out,
conference
right? You
finals.
can
We'll see
never
what
count him
happens.
out, especially in a playoff series. Let's go Tony next because he's a huge Laker fan. He's been vying for them the whole year. Tony, what do you got on your team, man?
Actually, I was looking at the schedule on my like roster. The roster. What am I talking about? The standings on my television. We are
Dude, I was wrong.
actually currently behind Clippers and Timberwolves. We are ninth. And this is why it scares me in this way, right? So Pelicans, I don't even want to talk about them. Spurs, what are they doing? Kings, it's the Kings. Thunder, Rockets, right? So what Jordan, the point you have of it's LeBron James, right? Where he would do everything. Last year, AD was out, Dennis Schroeder was Schroedering. And so now it's still that a little bit like, oh, well, there's excuses last year. So it's okay. We still got LeBron James. So even if we fail, we're still making ninth spot. So I feel like there's no sense of urgency with this team. It's a cool coasting. Yeah, we just beat the Nets without two of the best players, and Patty Mills is off, and so they only got James Harden, and they can't play no defense. So, but it's like that. But then the day before, when you play a real Heat team, you get demolished, and they don't have their two best stars. So I feel like one,
Right.
there's no sense of urgency because even if they fail, they'll still make playoffs. Right. Two, AD coming back helps a lot, as you can see. Right. He makes his presence known. I think when LeBron, they had the little run where LeBron was playing center and it was working a little bit. But I mean, rebounding, gosh, shooting, don't get me started. I don't think they, here the thing is, I don't think they can play DJ or Dwight like that. I think it's just AD, suck it up. I think it's just center, man. That's it. Like and then I know they put like Braun down there sometimes, and then I know Melo a couple times in rotations play center, but they can't. But I mean, you never call LeBron out. Russell Westbrook, I saw this thing where it looks like his numbers are low, but he's been averaging that his entire season. But it's that he's on the Lakers now. So you look at his career numbers, they're pretty the exact same. But now he's on Lakers, big stage, expectations. But I mean, you're gonna get his hustle. So I mean, that's what we love about Russ is that he works hard. He's gonna turn the ball over, but he's gonna run. But he's got to be more decisive. I saw Shaq talking. My last point. I saw Shaq talking about what he said to Russ because there was a little clip of him talking to Russ on the sideline. He was saying how you gotta slow down, relax. And that's like something that like high school, our coaches in the high school will tell us. But you can see it applies here too. Because we've seen the clip of Russ running from full court down and dunking the ball in OKC and going crazy and outspeeding everybody. That's gone. Same with John Wall. Those days of outspeeding everybody, gone. Right? So you got to find a different way to win the game. And he's still a great player. No matter what, he's a great player. Right? Whatever plus minus says or whatever. Great player. Hustle. Great player. But you're a great passer. You're a great rebounder. But the decision making, I'm fine with the shooting because that's what you do. Okay. But, and then the last thing.
Stop it.
We got to wait for Kendrick Nunn to get back, so it don't matter.
Oh my God.
That's my excuse.
Well,
That's my last excuse. Kendrick Nunn's my last excuse. That's it.
Going on?
That's my last Laker fan excuse. Yeah.
Okay.
Trevor Ariza, AD out, Russ. Kendrick Nunn's my last Laker excuse. It's my official Laker excuse.
What do you got, man?
Season's thrown out the window if he doesn't come back. That's it.
I actually really agree with what you're saying with Russ about slowing the game down and stuff and everything like that. I think the biggest thing I noticed with Russ this year is that because he's not beating everybody, he's not faster than everybody anymore. I think if he started really focusing on starting the right plays rather than always having to be the one to finish them, because I think that he's always looking to be like, oh, he's going to make that crazy flashy pass or he's going to do that crazy, insane layup through four dudes or jump shot over a 7-footer, It's like that's not going to work anymore for him, like at all. So I think if he really focused on starting the plays, like because he's the point guard and he should be the point guard, if he's starting the right plays, LeBron's going to finish those plays. And And Malik Monk is going to finish those plays, and guys that can really like be the last guy to touch the ball. Whereas Russ, I just don't think is that guy anymore. He's not the finisher anymore, and I think that's what he has to accept. Less being like an off-ball player, be a more on-ball player, be the floor general you're supposed to be. Make LeBron have to do that less, and just be the guy to shoot over the 7-footer and the dunk on the 7-footer, all those things. That's Bron's job, I think. So I think that would be big for the Lakers. But in general, with the Lakers, I think that they're obviously a very important point in the season where I don't think that they necessarily need to have – I mean, they do need to have more urgency, but I think the biggest thing is that they're not panicking and that they're not, pointing at Frank Vogel and they're not pointing it all at Russ and all that stuff, because it's not Vogel's fault, in my opinion. It's not all Russ's fault, in my opinion, because Russ is still better than a lot of other players, and he's a very decent point guard to have alongside the best player, in the world. And so – I don't think they need to panic so much, and I think they need to, like, as a team, buy in to what they have, less about, what they could get in the next week or whatever. And so I think that would be the biggest thing for them is buying in now and not panicking and staying steady with this.
You should be a part of that coaching staff. That's what they really need to hear.
I just want to say,
Sean, what do you got, man? What do you got on the Lakers?
The summer, but in the summer, my biggest take was that Russell Westbrook will make the Lakers worse, and I think I'm correct. So, but Kai, I have to agree with a lot of what you said. I think a big part of the issue is just understanding the role and accepting it. As a Raptors fan, I've seen that a lot with Chris Boucher this year. And in the last month, he's accepted his role and he's flourished, like double-doubles, like he's scoring. He's just not chucking up threes. So I think that's the thing with Russ is accepting your role. And this is another thing I said in the summer is that Russ is not a winner. He's a loser. And he has to find a way to play winning basketball. What he's done in the past has not won him championships. I know it's a bold statement, but he has to figure out how to win. And I know it's not easy, but like it's not just easy as that. But I don't know. I think what Kai said has a lot to do with it. But I think also looking at the Western Conference, like Tony was saying, I think the East is becoming stronger than the West. Like it's deeper. So the Lakers shouldn't have an issue finding the play-in at the least. But I think we've said this season has been so bad for the Lakers, but they're still 500. So I think they play remotely better, and they'll be in an easy 6-5 seed, I think, maybe even higher. But I don't think it's panic time yet. Not yet.
That's you bring up a good point to where I think we have this expectation, right, that we said at the beginning of the year where we all expected the Lakers to be a 1-3 seed, right? And that's why we're getting all this talk about them being an 8 seed. If you kind of just look at the team and you're like, well, they've had all these problems, right? They've had every problem. They've had injuries, COVID. Davis has missed a lot of time, and they're still 500. That's decent. It's not terrible. Like they're still in the playoffs right now. So I think we're just blowing this a little bit out of proportion in terms of what we expected from them. I think that's why we're talking about it. So
I mean, the biggest thing I want to, I just want to say it's funny. The East from 1 through 6, there's only a 2.5 game difference. So it's like I'm just saying maybe home court plays a role into that. Maybe they can get up to like a 4th or a 3rd. You never know what happens, But I mean, the biggest thing I see happening is like, in general, if you're going to win a championship, in my opinion, if you're going to go on can be considered a contending team, I feel like, with some, teams that are the outliers, like, I think the Toronto Raptors with Kawhi Leonard, I think you need at least one superstar, like 2 really, top 10 players or top 15 players, or you need one top 10 player with like 2 top 25, 30 players. You know what I mean? I don't think someone like Tobias Harris, who's like, I don't know, what do you want to call him, like a top 30, top 40 type of player in the league, not even, you know what I mean? Like in that, I don't think he's anything up there. You have Joel Embiid and then a whole bunch of, no disrespect, like, mediocrity for what you want on a championship team. You can't have Tobias Harris as your second best player, So I don't know.
What was yours?
What was your question?
The Cavs. Just what do you think about the Cavs, man? The Cavs have had this resurgence. What do you think of their players? Do you think they can beat the Sixers or a top contender in the playoffs?
I don't even know what the question was. I like experience. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be honest. Like, you can finish with whatever. I think we realize like standings don't really necessarily matter. You know what I mean? Think about teams like Utah Jazz. Every year, top two don't really get don't get anywhere. So it's like, yeah, they might be. We might be seeing a team turn into a really good young team that might be in the between 3 and 6 for the rest of the 5 years or so. Bearing whatever no injuries, anything like that. But this year, I just again, I know I'm saying I feel like I'm thinking about stars the most, but I feel like again, I think you might have
I think given their size, like they have Jared Allen, Lauri Markkanen, and Mobley all inside to guard, like to go against Embiid. I think the Cavs would honestly handle them easily. And the part about the Cavs that's crazy is that they're missing Colin Sexton, missing their number one point guard, and they're still like winning like crazy. So it's crazy to think about, and it's scary because they're going to be very good for the next few years. So scary team to look out for.
That was my thing. That was one of my points. I have a few points made here. Colin Sexton. They lost the best player and their 3rd seed. And then they lost Ricky Rubio, the other point guard, and a 3rd seed. So like you said, Darius Garland was one of the most trash players last year that I've ever seen. I've watched 2 games on League Pass, and I turned them off, and it's primarily because of him. I think at the beginning of the season, when there was the news about Lauri Markkanen starting small forward, I think we all said, what? And the 3rd seed. So and I know he's even been out, but you have players like Cedi Osman coming in and stepping up. When without even Kevin Love, like you said, he knows his role, stepping up. And I remember, because I was one of the people, we laughed when they drafted Mobley. They still had to trade for Allen, and they signed Lauri, and they kept Kevin Love. We're like, what are they doing? They got 4 power forwards. Worked. I mean, it's working. I mean, their future. I saw this one article headline that said, "Oh, the Cavs rebuild is over. They're feared across the league." But it's like, yo, they're third seed. Now, I don't know if it's some Knicks from last year where it was one team, they get the hype, and then they're down, like the Hawks as well. But, I mean, these players they have are young. Jared Allen's young. Devin Mobley's young. Lauri's young, right? I feel like Lauri was just playing Lonzo in the Pac-12. So you lose 2 of your best just playmakers in general, and you're still top 3. Darius Garland, like you said, and then Isaac Crowell's an elite defensive player. Don't care about him scoring. I don't think they even drafted him for that. So you have good pieces. But the thing is, my thing is Colin Sexton. He's a free agent after this year. Now they could also obviously offer him bird rights, so they could offer him the most out of any team. Or, I mean, it could be a sign and trade for somebody. But what do you do with Colin Sexton's contract, young bull? I mean, do you give him a contract? Your 3rd seed, do you give him a contract? I mean, you have Darius Garland. Do you want to keep Sexton? What do you want to do? So like that's probably the one thing where it's like, okay, no matter what happens this year, and I'm with Jordan I err on the side of experience. I think we see that a lot of times where it's like, okay, well, this team's looking okay. This team is nice. These Hawks are nice. Yeah, these Jazz from last year are nice. They're cute. You know what I mean? So we see some nice team, but I feel like we always just have that feeling of like, they're not it, and then we end up being right. There's always that feeling of this team's like number 1, number 2 seeds, but they're not really that team. And then you see what happens. So Colin Sexton. I don't know what they're gonna do with him, but I love how they're going along. And like Sean, like he said, if they play Sixers, if Jared Allen gets fouled out, throw Lauri at him. Lauri gets fouled out, throw Evan Mobley at him. Evan Mobley gets fouled out, throw Kevin Love at. So I mean, you have bodies to throw, and then you have great shooters. Shetty's, He's like one of my favorite players. Honestly, I know he does like absolutely nothing a lot, but I love him. Whenever I see Laurie's taking a bench in daily fantasy and DFS, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm picking up Zeddy. Oh yeah, that's it. So, this team's cool. It's weird. The Cleveland Cavaliers are third seed without someone named LeBron or like Larry Nance from like way back in the day, or like Ron Harper, like just like way back. But we'll see. This is why we love NBA. It seems like we're getting these new cycle of like the Hawks and the Knicks were last year. Now it's the Hornets and the Bulls and the Cavs. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the Cavs have been like, if not my favorite team to watch this year, like one of. I think my favorite teams to watch have been Cavs, Grizzlies, and Hornets. I think those are like the three most fun teams this year for me. But also, I mean, I kind of talked about this with Brandon and Grant last time we were on, but the dark horse for me was Ricky Rubio this year for the Cavs, because I think not just from like how he was playing, like because I mean he was playing amazing and he plays, he's just like he fits with pretty much anybody, and he just makes players better. But I think that I don't know if this is true because I'm not there, we're not in the locker room or anything like that, but I think that Ricky jump-started Garland's development. Like I think that Ricky Rubio is the biggest factor in Darius Garland's jump. And I think even having him injured now, he's still doing that for him. And so he's still like, I think he was just the perfect person to have in Garland's ear. And that would just be a prediction for me because I don't know if this is true, but that's what I truly think. I think that Ricky Rubio actually changed the way Darius Garland plays and how well he sees the floor now and how he really just can break down any defense. Like he just breaks them down. He knows he does the right thing at the right time pretty much every time now. And I think that was huge for them. And I also think what was interesting from like a front office standpoint was the Cavs didn't, when they did their whole thing with the centers and stuff, they didn't like make a team for fit. They got a bunch of good players, like just good. They didn't star pack. They didn't do anything like that because they couldn't. But they got a bunch of really good players, like upper middle tier. And so I think that's an interesting thing for other front offices to look at now. Like that actually works. Like even if you're getting four centers, and that doesn't work, you're still getting four good players that you're only able to get because it doesn't fit. And that's not the stereotypical mold for what you would do in free agency is you go out and get four centers and have that many big guys. But I think now they're in such a good position because they have these assets now where if they needed to change their playing style and they didn't want to run with these four centers anymore, you have guys that have made a leap. All of them have made a leap this year in the NBA, have shown that they're consistent and they're good players. And now you can trade for a complete team next year if it doesn't work out. And I still, not even saying that it's not going to work out this year, because I still think they're somewhat of a contender. But if it doesn't work out, now you're in a fantastic position because you have so many assets and young stars that you can build around, and then some centers you can throw into trade talks with some picks and get like a superstar shooting guard somehow.
Yeah,
and so I think
Tony,
they're in a great position, and they're like my favorite team to watch this year. So that's all I'd say about them.
Can I add something to what Kai said?
Wow.
Real quick. Funny, like Kai said, there's nobody on the team averaging more than 20 points. Nobody on the Cavs averaging more than 20 points a game. ESPN right here. There's nobody averaging 20 points a game. The bet, Darius Garland has the third highest PR on that team. He's averaging the most points. The ball is being distributed a lot, dude. The ball is being distributed a lot. Yeah, Darius Garland's scoring more points, but he's not the most efficient. You got other players on there. Kevin Love is the second most efficient player on that team. He comes with the bench. So for it, I think also this says a lot. It says a lot. The offense you see in the NFL, you got to have pieces around everybody that meshes together. The offense is very – you can't beat Lakers and throw players and see how you're going to figure out. If you have LeBron, it's probably the only player in history that can work, right? The offense has to work. We see it with the Celtics. Yeah, we got two great wing players. What's going on with this? We see the Knicks. They lack offense. They have all this good defense and defensive coach. But where is the offense? Where is the passing? Offense doesn't mean having three players averaging 25 points a game. It means – players being efficient. There's an offense. They're spreading the ball around. That's why the Warriors have been amazing since 2015. It's because of their offense, their cuts, the back screens, the IQ of the players. Like everything goes into it. Having one player dominate the ball, like Brandon, like you said, Luka, does not translate to wins. It doesn't. Unless your name is LeBron James. That's it. And that's crazy we're even saying that. It shows how great he is.
Yeah.
Otherwise, an offense is needed.
No,
Yeah.
and I agree. I just to piggyback on that, it's like, and it just goes back to my point about Ricky Rubio. Like, I really think that this is a Ricky Rubio offense. It's so like in your face that it mimics Ricky Rubio's play and where he's played before.
Yeah,
and
I was
everything
just
like
gonna
that.
ask, do you guys think that that's like
to me, it just
a good
has Ricky
addition for
Rubio
them
written all over
in
it.
terms of like filling that
And
Rubio
you said
role?
Ricky Rubio. He also has Rondo there in his ear. Like two of the greatest passers.
Mhm.
I think just like Kai said, just base level in his ear, looking out,
That was so
watching.
funny.
There's no like the star on the team is him. Like as young
Yeah.
players. When he's in the Clippers last year, you did that like infamous clip of him looking at Kawhi like, "Fuck you see that shot for?" Like what? Talking to players, he can't control them. They've been in the league for so long. Marcus Morris and Kawhi and PG. But you got Darius Garland, who's like what, our age? Evan Mobley's younger than all of us. Like you're able to talk, right? So yeah.
Yeah, that's big time. I think that's big. That when your star player is a young point guard, and you put a veteran point guard with weight to be able to talk to somebody. Like sometimes it's hard. You can have a great veteran point guard trying to coach a superstar young talent, but they don't have the weight to really change that player's mind. And the way to talk to them. And I think that Ricky Rubio and Rajon Rondo, honestly, can do that. They have the weight to do it. They have the like back in my day type stuff. They can pull that and they'll listen. And that's important, I think, because I feel like most young NBA players don't really want to listen to a coach like that all the time. It's not always how they want to be talked to or how they want to do it. They're doing that all day in practice and stuff like that. When you have somebody you might have looked up to or somebody that you want to model your game after, certain parts of their game after, it's easy to mold somebody because then they think about it constantly and they're constantly doing it and it becomes like muscle memory for them, and then they turn into like a more complete player because they have things that player didn't have. So then you combine the two and then you got like a serious problem. You got like a real problem.